All right. Wonderful. All right, everyone. Well, hi, and thank you for joining us in such a huge number today. And welcome to our, which month are we now? April's call for the Marketing Channel Academies group chat on asking a VAR. How can ISVs get better engagement and to build a partnership? I think this is a hot topic. A lot of people have tried to build this relationship. So we're going to ask the questions. Please feel free to ask questions, put them in the chat. Anya will be moderating in case I don't see the side conversation going on. But we're here for that. We want this to go both ways, and we want you to get the most out of these calls. So please ask us questions. And to start us off, I'm going to introduce our three panelists for today. Well, I'm going to let them introduce themselves because they're probably much better at talking about themselves than myself. So we have Kat, Abra, and Robert, who are going to be talking to us today as our panelists. So Kat, why don't you kick us off and start talking a bit about yourself?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Tanya. Happy to. I'm Kat Withrich from Admiral Consulting Group. We're a VAR in New Jersey. Technically, my title is Client Services, but I do work across lots of departments here at Admiral, everything from marketing to sales, client success, support. So I wear lots of hats and enjoy it all. I'm grateful to be here today.
Grateful to have you here with us today. Robert, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Rob Jolliffe. I'm president of Saber Limited. We're a VAR with a moving towards being a VAR ISV located in Ontario, Canada, although we service customers all over North America. We're about 25 people. So I still wear a lot of hats within the business, but fewer and fewer. I'm more involved now in marketing and sales. That's my primary role.
Very cool. Abra?
Hi, I'm Abra Gelman, and I'm with Collins Computing for about 30 years now. And we are also a partner VAR, and I'm the CSM / account manager / project manager / whatever hat. I love hats, so I'll wear them all. And yeah, it feels like I'm kind of in the same role as Kat, like whatever is needed, I'll jump in to do, but probably mostly on helping people find add-ons to their existing solutions and then also implementing. So I get really stuck in the details sometimes instead of just staying at the level of sell it and get out.
I think that's good. That'll kind of give another dimension to the call today too. By wearing lots of hats, you see that relationship with ISVs in a lot of different ways. So I think that'll help solidify maybe some of the other relationships, how we work together or how we make this marriage work between the two of them. So a couple of housekeeping. I'm going to remind you guys again, please ask questions, put them in the chat. We want this to be interactive. Sometimes we'll have a little side convo. That's okay. I won't feel too left out. And Anya, please poke me if I've missed a question when someone's talking or if there's something going on that I didn't hear. So without further ado, let's kick this party off and let's get to our first question. So what are the advantages of having a tight relationship between the ISV and the VAR? So Abra, with your many years of experience, maybe you can start us off there.
Yeah, so at first I feel like I've done this type of, I don't know what you call a seminar session several times in the past. I know like Bob is on the phone and Russ is on the phone. We've done them together. One of them, our first one was called like VARs and Partners Making Beautiful Music Together because we were in Nashville at the time. So yeah, I think that, it's not just building a relationship that I know how to get a hold of you. It's actually building that friendship, that confidence that when I'm working with that ISV or that other partner even, do I have that trust? Right? It's not just, do you have the product, but do you have my trust that you're going to service our clients? And it's all great when everything works perfect, but what about when it doesn't? And so it doesn't mean that we need absolutely spot on perfect implementations without any issues. It almost means like, I want to see a couple issues and how you guys are going to handle that. And are you going to be responsive? Or are you going to just send me to support, hell, where I like have to fight my way to the top? Do I have somebody that I can call to say, okay, normally I'll wait in line at this particular time. I need to cut a line. So I need somebody to get a hold of. So that's my relationship building piece that makes it so important, is get to know me a little bit, get to know that I won't always ping you and say, get me to the front of the line. But when I do, I really mean it.
And I think that trust is super important too, in that open level of conversation, because it's your name, bottom line, that's kind of front with the client. So if the client may not always know all the ISVs in the background, so it's your name that's the most important, that you're trying to protect, and super good points there. And what about you, Kat? I'm sure you live similar situations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Abra made really good points there. And I think also it's nice to have that really open line of communication, so that we can have productive conversations quickly about opportunities. And there's so many ISVs in the marketplace. Oftentimes a customer is going to have multiple installations in their environment, and how do those ISVs work together? So when we have relationships with with the folks that we're working with at the various add-ons, then we can really start to have conversations about, well, what other partners do you have within the ISV channel? How do you work together with with a Business Central installation, for example, and it's kind of a newer product. So, have you already established these conversations with other ISVs, and are there conflicts, or are you working through that? And just being able to have a close relationship where it's easy to have those conversations and kind of get into the complexities quickly. And it's not just like kind of reinventing the wheel every time you reach out. If we have that nice open line of communication, then it helps facilitate like a smoother project overall.
And I think that's it. It's the building on. If you have to restart the wheel every time, it makes it just that much harder to get everyone ramped up. And no, definitely, if you have that close-knit partnership between the two, it makes all of the difference. So, Robert, what approaches have you seen that works best when you get contacted by an ISV? And maybe also on the flip side of it, what annoys you? Like, what turns you off if someone calls you and you're like, no, this isn't going to happen for me now?
Well, we have a really unique kind of situation because we're vertical focused. So we only deal with manufacturing customers. And because 100% of our customers are in the manufacturing sector, we're both pickier with ISVs in a way, but we also form really tight relationships with them to the point where we're the implementer. We want to be, from the primary ISVs that we rep, we want to be the implementer. We don't want the customer to have the relationship with the ISV. We want us to be the relationship with the customer for that ISV solution. And we have a vertical industry solution that we've chosen as an ISV. It's a really heavy product that takes, honestly, it's taken years for us to get reasonably good with it. But it gives us an advantage in the market, because it would be very difficult for another partner to pick up that ISV and become good with it. So we're always trying to pick those ISVs that fit really tightly with our vertical. And what I get sometimes is I get somebody coming and saying, we have a real estate leasing management solution. It's great. You should pitch it to your clients. And I have to explain to that ISV, look, you obviously didn't look at my website. You don't know what we do. We don't have real estate clients. We don't have any clients that are, doing property management. So your property management solution is really not applicable. And if they get pushy and they start saying, well, we could still do a webinar, we can show you how it works. It's that is annoying, because they're not listening to me. I don't have any clients that would be of interest to that, or would have any interest in your ISV solution. And I'm not going to go after them. I'm not going to change my business because you have brought me an ISV solution. On the flip side of that, I'm always looking for those ones that do have an intersection with manufacturing. And so when an ISV shows up, maybe they're a European ISV that I haven't had a chance to speak to before, or they're coming from the GP world, which I actually came from the GP world at one point. So I know what it's like, and they're entering into Business Central and they're trying to figure out how to integrate. We want to grab those and suck them in and learn as much as we can, as fast as possible. and get good at them if possible, you know, and make it part of our strategic business. So we're building our product and what we sell right around those ISV solutions.
No, and I think that's a super good point. It's the respecting your, this is never going to work for me, or this is really going to work for me. Listening to your target market as a sales 101 sales tactic. Abra, what about from your side? Well, what are some of the things that you enjoy and maybe should let people avoid, you know?
I muted myself. I almost forgot to unmute. I'll stick more with the positive. Like, I love an example that I'll take out of, I just got an email. I read my emails, first of all. So I would rather get an email than a phone call, because the phone call is most likely interrupting what I'm thinking about. If I set up a phone call with somebody that's totally different, I'll take the phone call. But I love just an email that is targeted to things like, let's talk about GP. We still support GP. And so we got this email from McCormick yesterday, and it was like, hey, these are the 3 things that are new with my product. And then as I was reading that, which I didn't have to click 3 times to get to something else to read, it was right there in the email. I love that. So here's the 3 things that are new in our product. And then, by the way, remember, we recently added these other couple things. And I work with McCormick all the time. So it's awesome to get, like, first, here's what's new, and a refresher on some of the things that I might have heard about but forgot. So I love that. At times like year end, if it's some product like company data archive, I love that somebody can, you know, click on, like, maybe Professional Advantage would send me something that is perfect for year end, so that I can then share that with my customers. So timely things that tell me very quickly what's new, what's different, and maybe what are our key things that people are going to use when they get our product. What I don't like, I could go on and on, but about both. I mean, what I don't like is another one that I was reading this morning, my other emails. And I mean, I know what things mean, CPM, ERP, you know, all these acronyms, but sometimes I might forget. And so it takes me, like, I have to go Google what the acronym is. And I know it's their product. And if I have a client that's looking for it, I probably know top of mind what that acronym stands for. But I remember Anya writing some post years ago of all the acronyms we should know of in the ERP industry, you know, just to keep up with them. So I don't like when people use acronyms and never tell you what that acronym means. In all of their product, I went out to a website and even saw they didn't have it on their website. So I'm like, well, obviously I don't need to sell that product because I don't know what I'm talking about anyway. But maybe it'd be nice if somebody helped me understand that product. So really giving me the basics top of mind in an email, and it can be once a month, once every 2 months, and I'll read it. Don't spam me every day or every week.
And I think that's a good point too. It's we're in a business where sales cycles could be long. So from week to week, things aren't going to change all that much. And you're looking for education, you're looking for information. So know your audience and see where they're at and what kind of level of client or prospect or whatever they are, but get them the information that makes the most sense for them. So there's a question that came in through the chat. So yay, thank you, Sam. So the question she has for us is, what are the top 3 things an ISVs can do to make you as a VAR happier, more amped up to use them while use cases? What are some of the things that make you happier? How do you work together? Anybody, you can jump in if you have something to say.
I'll throw one thing in, and Abra, what you were just talking about, it sort of prompted a thought, which is, if you're an ISV and you come to me and you want to sell, let me know who your target customer would be. Like, let me know that, you know, a sweet spot customer would be a $50 million accounting firm, or, you know, a professional services business, or a manufacturing company with 5 divisions, or whatever it happens to be that would be a sweet spot customer, because that'll give me a point of reference to what you're selling. And sometimes they come and they, like, any customer can handle our product. it's great. Any business can do it. And then when you dig into it a little bit, you find out, oh, it's $30,000 entry level price. So obviously your 5-person business is not going to be interested in this product. That is very unhelpful when the ISV is just too broad and trying to shotgun, splash things across the entire market and think that, well, everybody should buy my product. That's not going to happen. And it's not helpful to me. It wastes my time.
No, I think, and coming back to the respectful of time, respectful of relationships, it's super important for everything. And how do you guys feel about use cases? And do you do a lot of, like if you have implemented an ISV, and do they ask you to do case studies after? How do you manage that relationship? Because you kind of become the intermediary in that standpoint.
Yeah, to be honest, we've been burnt a couple times on use cases, so we are shying away from them in some aspects. But an old GP client, we did this huge use case scenario, and then another partner came in and said, we could do a better job at exactly this, and they used it against us. And so we're very, very careful. We're now in the Acumatica partner channel, and we've done a couple of use cases, but we're very careful about how we share. And so the use cases are good. I get where it's nice if I have somebody that needs to see that somebody else has done the same thing. But yeah, I'm kind of a scorned partner that, somebody's taken mine away. So I don't even really ask for much about that other customer. Just, I'll say, here, customer, you go talk to customer. I don't even want involved in it because I don't want that other partner to think I'm trying to take that other customer. So maybe that hasn't happened to other people, but yeah, it's kind of a sore spot.
Yeah, I think just to clarify on my ask, this is Sam. I was specifically asking, is it beneficial if an ISV says, here's my target 3 use cases of how people can use, Flowcast where I'm at now, in addition to, here's our target sweet spot, here's the people, but a workflow chart or something like that. Do you actually use those? Are they, they're very hard to put together with a product team from time to time, but that's more so what I was referencing.
Yeah,
if I could,
go ahead.
I was just going to clarify. So Sam, you mean Acme Inc. has this product, not a real company, just an example, fake, a story of how it would be used in the real world.
Exactly.
Yeah, I find those very useful. I don't think they need to be very long.
Okay.
I think the mistake is trying to make them enormous, complex, long, drawn out use cases. I think making them simple and straightforward and easy to understand to get the attention of the partner is more important than trying to make them fully descriptive. And then later you get into it, you should do sales training with us to show us those use cases so we understand them, and then we can repeat them and change the story to tell a story. There's a lot of discussion today about selling through storytelling and whiteboarding and different techniques to try and engage the client. And I think storytelling is a really effective way to sell a product. And I think a short, brief, simple story that explains who would use your product. I'll call it a user story, which is a sort of programmer terminology, but that explains who would use the product and why and in what circumstances, without being a case study with company name, and photos and things like that. I think that is really, really helpful.
Okay. Thank you.
And also, how are you different than your competitors, in that story? What are the features that really make you stand out? So you can help to differentiate that, in our minds as we're selling, but, certainly for the end users as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, that was what I was going to talk about is there's 2 things. If I can have a little now pictogram, honestly, the story is here's a pictogram that a kid could understand what it is you're trying to tell me that you can solve for my customer. That'll get us in the door with them. I don't have to know much, and I can go, do you see this? This is what you were asking for. And then, we talk about things like document management and workflow, and there's 100 products out there. So as Kat was saying, we've talked about those sessions that have, multiple vendors, like on a panel or something, to explain what the differences are. I love those little charts that some of you guys have put together to say, here's what they do, here's what we do, here's what they do. I know it's not going to be perfect because your product and you may not know theirs, but it's going to help us to differentiate and sell appropriately. We don't want somebody going into this one that doesn't have any OCR capability or machine learning, and they don't need it. And maybe just somebody needs a super simple document workflow and they could actually get along with what's out of the box in GP, like just to do extremes, right? Like, we want to know the differences.
And one of the questions that just came up in the chat is, it's really important to know what the differences are, but some people don't want to do it because they don't want to come off as petty or mean or as poking holes in the other person's solution. How do you guys feel about that when you say, well, this person sucks and we're awesome? Like, how do you kind of see that? Or do you go, well, it's part of the game? How do you guys see it?
Yeah, you could say we're really strong in this area and they're not as strong in that area. This is where we started. This is where we've put our R&D. Yeah, the battle cards. Thank you for whoever. I'm like watching the things come up. I feel like battle cards help us learn the product. Mm-hmm. And it's not bad mouthing the other solution. It's saying, we've had people come to us from that solution because of this. Mm-hmm. We want to know those things. Maybe they don't need this. So we still have both to look at. I don't think it's bad mouthing, it's honesty, if it's honest.
Yeah, I think that's a very important part, the being honest, because it comes back to the trust, and then we're going to go full circle on that relationship between the two. But yeah, no, keep those questions coming. We're going to keep going with our pre questions that we had. So can
I add one? I want to add one thing, just because I had a very recent experience with an ISV who really came down hard on a competitor, like beat him up, told me a lot of stuff about how this competitor was really unprofessional, et cetera, et cetera. And it really turned me off. At the end of the day, I actually checked into a few things they said about the competitor, and it turned out they were wrong. Right. And that is a real, like, no for me. Rather than building up, like you said, build up your own skills. Don't build yourself out by standing on top of other people. Like say they have strengths, but these are our strengths and why we're better. And I always say my competitors have customers I don't have, so they must be better than me somehow. So
I'll fact check, and that's all, but it helps me determine that. I'll go, if I'm looking at two products and somebody just told me they don't have this, I'll go back and say, well, I hear you don't have this. This might be a deal breaker, or it might not be. And I heard that your customer support sucks. What have you done lately to fix it? We're going to deal with them. So I want them to be better.
No, and I think, the dynamics or the ecosystem of whichever group you're in, it's a small world. Everyone kind of knows everyone. So the truth is going to come out. The truth will set you free from the get-go. So be honest, but be fair. I think that's kind of where everyone's coming from here. And moving along, Kat, can you give us an example of marketing collaboration that you had with an ISV that was successful? We talked about some of the other things that maybe we don't like as much, but what is something that works for you and kind of got you going as a VAR ISV partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the campaign in a box. Avalara does a great job. It'll often be multi-prong. It'll have social media post templates. It'll have email drip nurture templates. It'll have, if we're doing a webinar, it'll have nice webinar invite template as well. So we have content that's ready to go, easy for us to share out on our channels. And then again, if we have a webinar, then we like to make sure we record that, obviously, post it to our YouTube channel, and we have a nice piece of content. Then we can also share out if somebody's interested in that ISV, we can say, hey, we actually have a piece of a video we did together, I'm on the video, it's just kind of like a nice thread. Then we have that asset as well, just to share out. And again, Avalar does a great job of that. Some of the other ISVs do as well. And then conversely, I've seen some ISVs say, hey, let's do a webinar, now what, and I have to kind of create everything, and that's not a good way to start off the relationship. So yeah, those campaigns in a box are great for me.
Yeah, and I think it's important too, like you're the jack of all trades. You need to know a little bit about everything. When you become they're the masters, they know their product better than anyone else. So they know the buzzwords, the target markets. So it's important that they kind of lead you in the right direction a little bit, like Robert, you were saying before, at least give me a target market, put me on the straight and narrow. So I think that makes a lot of sense from that side of things. So as marketers, we are going to try something new this month. We're going to take a quick commercial break to thank MS Dynamics World for helping us out. They are the ones who pay for our website, help us keep our website going, who keep these chats going every month. So a big thank you to them. They've been around since 2008 and have been the world's leading news and information resource for decision makers and influencers in the Microsoft business applications community. And they provide targeted digital management programs for Dynamics ISVs and partners around the world. So thank you very much. It's thanks to sponsors like you that we can keep this program going and that we don't ask the rest of you for money every month. So thank you. And we will come back to our regular scheduled program now. Let's go to our next question, which is, which co-marketing tactics do you see works best? Abra, you've worked with a lot of ISVs, so.
Yeah, to be honest, in the past, I thought, oh, webinars, let me spam my entire customer database and then hope that I catch like 6 of them to come to a webinar. And sometimes I get 10. And to be honest, I just don't feel like that does much of anything. I don't think we've ever had significant success that way. What I find much better is we've done a successful implementation and then really sitting down and going through my customer list and saying who else might enjoy this, who else might benefit from this. Enjoy, I don't know if that's the right word. But and honestly, just directly emailing and saying, hey, customer, I thought of you because of this. Maybe it's a template email and they don't know it, but honestly, just focusing on 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 customers and saying, hey, let's talk about this. Then maybe turn that into a webcast with 3 or 4 of our customers and talk through, the hurdles that we overcame if the customer wants to with us, or just being really honest, hey, this implementation could have gone better if we would have talked about these 4 things before we started down the road of this implementation of this product. And really kind of going at it as it's not a plug and play. We know it's hardly ever that with any ISV product, very few, but here are the things that the customer needs to do in order to prepare for that implementation. And then we can then say it's almost out of the box because we're going to do it over and over again with you 4 customers and make it more of a teamed approach. And we've done this with things like, company data archive, which is kind of a plug and play, but it's not, because you have to have, I'm getting, technical in the details, but you have to have the client who has run paid transaction removal. You'd have to have the client that's closed their years. And so I feel like discussing it and making it a process where they're part of the planning with maybe some other customers is a fantastic approach. And it's almost like saying, let's go to a class together, right? And we have like 4 or 5 of you who want to do it. So that's been really successful that we've done a couple that way, which is different. And I don't know what you call that.
targeted marketing. I think it comes back down
Kind
to
of,
that.
yeah.
The ISV product doesn't work for everyone, and you have to find that niche and where it makes sense. So I think that's very cool idea, and really focusing on that it makes sense for these 5 people, because you don't want to waste they're still your clients. You don't want to waste their time either with stuff that probably doesn't interest them. So no, I like that. And Robert, have you seen any tactics that you particularly like from a marketing perspective?
Well, we tend to do webinars with ISVs, but they're primarily to create YouTube content. And what we've done with these webinars quite often is my team, generally, we're picky because we're looking for ISVs that are specific to our customer base. And with those ISVs that I think are good targets for the clients, the team gets them installed, learns them, and can, I'll say, demo them. It's really kind of a light training. And we include that with every project. So every time we do a project, we include the training on those ISVs that we think are really important to the client that they would be able to use. And it's not extra. It's almost like they're getting these demos included, but it's the sales reps are the implementers, and the implementers are trusted business advisors of the client by the time they're partway through the project. And so in a lot of cases, that upsells the clients to buy an ISV solution, which they need because there's value. The only reason they would get it is if there's value. And then the YouTube videos kind of remain behind for something, let's say an e-commerce solution. We don't do e-commerce very often, but we get clients who want to open an e-commerce store. We might have done 2 or 3 e-commerce videos with different partners. And then my team can say, well, I'm not sure which one you should look at, but here are 3. You can take a look at the videos and let us know if you want to talk to them, and then we can put you in touch with them. So it reduces the sales effort. It means that the customer can self-serve. They can do it in their own time. And YouTube, honestly, YouTube's a great lead generator too. So if you're creating content on YouTube, it's probably helping your business.
And I think that comes back to the campaign in a box, and just having that content that you can put out there and they can consume when they need it. So very cool. We had another question come in. Has anyone had success with co-branded podcasts? I don't know if any of us are podcasters out here, but have you done anything like that in the past?
I don't think that I've done like specifically a podcast that was mine. Like I've jumped on other people's podcasts and then I've learned other things because then I'll go listen. And I think that's the catch, right? If I can do something, even like with these guys here that I'm on, the session with or the panel with, the more that you do that, the more that you're building your knowledge in the industry. And I'm going to go to them as an industry expert in things that I've heard them talk about. And so even just hearing, not necessarily, it doesn't have to be all about your product, but showing that you're an expert in the industry means that I'm going to think of you and ask you more questions that maybe you know the answers to with your product, or maybe some other person's product, but now you're building that relationship and I'm going to go to you first when I do have a solution that you can help me with. Zubin from Dynamic Budgets is a great example of that. He'll do anything for anybody and it has nothing to do with selling his product. But oh my goodness, when his product is up for, as a choice, I'm like, if you want somebody who's going to go out of your way to get you what you need, go to him. So I feel like I like the idea of the podcast, doing a podcast together. That's a great idea. And it helps to help you learn about that person or that company.
And what we're starting to see this thread too, is get the information out there, and when I need it, I'll be able to consume it, or just stay top of mind of where, and when I need it, I know where to find you, kind of thing, because you might not always be doing what they need or they want you to sell at that particular moment in time. Another question. We knew that this was going to be a hot topic today. Do any of your experience with MDFs, marketing development funds? Have you ever worked with those in the past?
Years ago for me, we haven't really,
That's fine. Well, we know
And I
that.
was going to say, like,
Saber-
does shared cocktail receptions count?
I was going to say that I haven't seen a lot of that in the Microsoft Dynamics ISV market. I see that tends to come from the tier one. So like I have a managed service practice, so Dell will do that, you know, or HP or Cisco or Microsoft. But as far as
they used to love us more.
And they don't do anywhere near as much. And ISVs, I just have not seen that from. I don't know if that's a recent change or if that's a just I'm not looking, because sometimes they're there and you have to ask.
The reason I ask is because we're starting to put some together for when we kind of really launch some of our Microsoft integrations here in about 2 weeks. And just want to know if anybody has like the experience to chat about it, but all good if not.
Well, if anyone has any experience on that, put it in the chat and reach out, and so you can share things from that standpoint. So let's keep going. I'm like seeing the time already. I'm like, wow, we're gonna blow through our 1 hour today. So Kat, what kind of ISVs tactics that you've seen that have worked well for you, besides the marketing in the box? Have you seen anything else that you like?
Besides the marketing in a box, from like just from a marketing perspective with the ISVs, or well, I love shout out to Carol. I love when I get connected to a bunch of ISVs really quickly through Carol Livingston. She does a great job. And then those follow-ups from the ISVs are also really good. They're often very like information rich, full of lots of resources. And you know, sometimes they'll throw some promotions then if we do some marketing engagement together. You know, if we're driving toward a webinar or something, they'll offer something like that. I don't necessarily see a ton of uptick in engagement just because, you know, we're offering something free if you attend my webinar. But, you know, sometimes it's nice to have that piece of content to put in the invitation. I also really appreciate when an ISV takes the time to try to speak with more members of my team than just myself. We don't always have the bandwidth to have consultants sit in on sessions to really understand, obviously, every single product. But it is really nice when that's offered, or when they have sort of resources that can help facilitate that kind of knowledge. But it's not just sales knowledge; it's actually, you know, practical, functional knowledge for the application consultants, because they're on the front end with the customer. It's really helpful for them to have knowledge of what can be deployed for the customer outside of just doing a customization or the base functionality of the product, obviously, and can start, you know, helping their wheels turn about what more, you know, upsell conversations we can have for that client. Yeah, you know, the more information, the better.
And I think that's good. A little bit of information so you can dig when you need it. Super important. So why do you sometimes not contact an ISV or say no to starting up a relationship? Maybe Robert, you spoke a bit about it before, about your industry specific stuff, but did you have anything else to add about why you would say no to an ISV?
One experience that I've had with ISVs is that it's really hard to onboard complex ISVs with a smaller team, which, you know, we're about 25 people, so we're not huge. It's really hard to onboard complicated ones. So I will delay or defer even something that is in the manufacturing space, but it's going to be complicated. You know, we've been approached by some ISVs that are in the manufacturing space, but they're very vertical focused, and they're not in verticals that we're particularly strong in yet, because there's, even within the manufacturing vertical, there are a lot of sub verticals of manufacturing. And what I found is that sometimes it's just going to be too big a lift. And I don't want to distract the team. I don't want to try and do one of those projects and end up being like just a sort of an extra effort that is unnecessary, because I got enough work on the other types of verticals I'm doing. But at the same time, maybe that is a target for 3 years from now or 2 years from now, and I do want to look at them. So I want to keep them in on the back burner, so to speak, without being mean to them and telling them oh yeah, I'm going to do a project soon. I'm really honest and say, maybe this is a 2023, 2024, look for client and see if we can implement your ISV solution. That tends to be the big ones, the complicated ones, the ones where there's a lot of extra features and functions you have to learn.
Oh, and so for you ISVs out there who have, and you know who you are, the more complicated or have to be more at the front end, to be patient and just to take the time to, okay, it's not going to happen today, but you were doing the long play here. So don't discount them after one touch point or something. Kat, why do you sometimes say no to starting a relationship, or has it ever happened in the past?
Sometimes ISVs will require a fee to be a partner. I know that can be a turnoff. Occasionally I would say that there's just cause for that. If there's a sort of a sandbox environment that we need to pay for or something like that. But just to have a relationship and to be able to sell your product, I don't think it makes the most sense to put a price tag on that just to have that relationship. That's been a turn on in the past.
No, the pay to play, that doesn't fit well, we need to build the trust first in order to make sure that this relationship is going to work. So I think that's good, something to keep in mind as well. So I'm going to throw this out to everyone now. One piece of advice you have for building your relationship, what would you say is the number one thing that you should think of, or as the first step that someone should take when building this relationship between both of you? Abra?
One thing?
No. We still have time.
There's a couple of things I love, especially if it's like a newer product or a newer partner, that if you do have the ability to just click on a link and see a pictograph or a short videos are great with screens of here's what the product looks like. I know some products you can't do that, it's all behind the scenes, but they're going to produce something, right? Here's a report it produces, here's the screen, here's the input that you need, something so that the person can feel like this is what it's going to be like when I use that product. They have to envision themselves using it. How is it going to change my daily life? Again, McCormick kind of does a good job at these crazy videos where you're sailing through the air, being a check or an EFT, because you can put yourself in that place. A turn off is it's so complicated to even talk about how much it's going to be or what it's going to take to implement. Even if you can say, all right, a basic implementation is this, a medium size is this, and then, an expensive one is this, right? So just give me ballparks. I know I don't have to stick with all the options, but when your product has a million add-ons, it's so frustrating as a partner and a customer just to say, what is it going to cost me? And you could say an entry level is this, a medium is this, and a hard is this. And an entry level is, a month and a half, and this one is 6 months, and this one's 2 years for something that Robert might be implementing. So just to keep it simple for us to get in the door. And if it changes, let us know. Again, we've been dealing with some of these partners for 30 years. Tell me what's changed. I'm sure I don't know. So again, if the product used to be this much to implement, tell me what's changed.
Keeping people up to date, I think that's also been a key theme that we've seen. For you, Robert, what will it take for these ISVs or to advice that you have for them moving forward?
I first of all, I completely agree with you, Abra. It's frustrating when I just want a budgetary number, because my customer might not be willing to spend $50,000 on something, but they might be willing to spend $5,000. And if you won't tell me how much it costs at all until you talk to the client, then I'm not even going to present you, because I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want them, to find out it's $50,000 and say, why did you bring this to me? So I completely agree with that. I think a very rough budget. We are not the client. We're not the end user. We understand that there are nuances and decisions to be made and project management and all that. So just give us the rough numbers and we know how to work with that. I don't like when I have to sit through an hour-long demo. Yeah, can you tell me more about your product? I'll set an hour-long demo with you. Why do I need that? Like, can you not tell me in an elevator pitch in 15 minutes? Give me a highlight of what the product is and who it services. And that gets back to the use cases, like who uses it, why is it used, what's the type of business, what's the value, what does it solve, what's the problem it solves. If you can't summarize that in 15 minutes, I don't understand why your product, like why you need that much time. I mean, if we're at a trade show and we walk by your booth,
Right,
you could do it in 5 minutes or 10 minutes while we walk by the booth. Don't do an hour-long demo, but for some reason when we just email you and say, hey, can we have a conversation about your product? It has to be this really long drawn out thing. It drives me crazy.
And I think that's a good point too, to remember is, you guys are subject matter experts as well. It's not just the ISV, you know the customer, you guys, everyone kind of has the same sales cycle. It's just positioned differently. So let's talk friends instead of, you're not the end user here. You're at the same level and playing field, and you know what all those words mean and what it means when it's going to be hard or long. You've had to kind of circumvent that already. So now, so keep that in mind, ISVs, when someone asks you just to chat for 15 minutes, really keep it to a 15-minute chat. And Kat, what about you?
Yeah.
Nice.
I just echo Rob and Abra's points that, give me a cheat sheet. What are the Dynamics products you work with? What are the Dynamics products you don't work with? What are the industry sweet spots? What are the what are the minimum requirements for this to be a viable option for a customer? What are some examples of your customers? I could go on. But if you had some sort of,
please do. I think that's
video,
what they want.
Link me in the, literally a piece of paper that has all of this information on it would be amazing. Because I capture those notes, but I have to sit there, ask the questions, write them all down. The easier it is for me to really have an understanding of your value, what you do, what you offer, and how you can help my clients, the more likely I am to recommend you, right? So the quicker and simpler you can make that for me, the better it is in the long run.
so I'm going to say one other thing. So I have a daughter in college, right? And she's going to have the dream job. I wish I would have had it. It's like planning sports events and marketing and management for sporting events. I would love it. But so I have these emails that are coming in kind of about that. And just, I'm even reading stuff because it interests me. And so I guess my point is, in one of them, like it talks about marketing in the sports industry, and it's saying that now email is surpassed any kind of like going out to a website and catching something. Email is the way to get to people. But yeah, I'm going to read an email because it interests me or something caught my attention right away. And it's going to tell me like why I want to look at it. And so I said earlier, McCormick said, 3 things that's new and another thing that you might have forgotten about. Oh yeah. So emails is the way to go, but don't give me like 27 things in a long newsletter anymore. Just give me a couple of quick things. Mm-hmm. And at the end of these emails that I get daily on this sports marketing thing, it's like conversation starters. And it's like 4 things that you should know about sports today. Like, okay, give me that. 4 things I should know about your product, conversation starter. I love those ideas. So I'm like taking them to my customers.
I think, Abra, you're going to get a lot of top 4 reasons from your ISV.
Yeah.
But I think that's cool. That's a good point and idea of, we have to, email's not dead. And as marketers, we focus on SEO and YouTube, but we can't forget that people still intake content, and we have to keep that in the piece of the pie. Robert,
I want to just add a little bit to the last segment, or my last statement about don't give me an hour-long session. And because Carol Livingston posted something in chat that said, hey, a lot of people will, have a video that you can, a short video that you can watch. I also run into, and Carol does a great job with her product and demos that she shows, and my team, participate in that. But a lot of the videos you find are totally non-informational. They are, rah, we're great, maybe a little animated thing. And they don't even tell you what the product does. They don't tell you who the customer is that would use it. They're kind of like, we're the best and we improve the efficiencies of teams. And at the end of it, you don't know any more about the product. So that is also pet peeve for me. There are videos to pique the interest of an owner that doesn't have any time and he wants the 60-second blurb and he'll send it to his management team. The video for the management team that's 5 minutes to 10 minutes long that gets into the sort of the details, but not deep into the details. It's not a deep dive. And then there's the 1 hour demo for the consultants, the implementation consultants. So they learn the basics of it. You have to have all three pieces. If you only have the super brief video that doesn't tell me anything about your product, or the 1 hour video that is an entire, like, basically product training video, you need to also have that in between that is that, I'll call it again, the elevator pitch that explains your product and why you need it.
I think it's great to have those. It's coming back to you have to know your audience. You're not just selling to one person in the organization either. You're talking to different people and having those different target markets for your different parts of the sales cycle as well. We're just going to keep adding buzzwords in here today, but super important, coming back to the basics of marketing, and it's what it seems like. Another question is regarding ISV cadence calls. How often is optimal? Monthly, quarterly, biannual, hardly ever? What do you think makes sense for you guys, or what have you seen is the most effective? I know, Abra, no calls.
Yeah,
Email.
well, no. So I'm like, okay, Bob. If you would say, like, can we have a monthly call? I'm like, I'm going to roll my eyes. No. But if you said, can we have a quarterly call? Just 30 minutes. I just want to tell you what's new about my product, ask you if you have any leads, Maybe I'll agree to that, actually, because I feel like, okay, I could probably give my friend 30 minutes because he's a friend. Honestly, if somebody else said, can we have a quarterly call? I might not say yes because I don't have a relationship with them. And so then I'm going to come back to, it's about the relationships and what I'm willing to spend. And then when you get me sitting down for 30 minutes to talk to you, you might rack my brain a little bit to go, oh gosh, that customer might want this, so it's slowing us down to think about your product, but I'm not going to do that every week or every month. And because you're my friend, I'll do it once a quarter.
Okay, I'll have
Now we all know.
later.
We've talked about it and you guys didn't follow
I don't know,
up.
Bob. I don't know if you have the love there, Bob.
I know, Rob. It's tough with her. She's a tough customer.
But those tough customers are the best customers, the ones you have to work at the most. It's like any.
I just sold 5 more seats of his product today, so whatever.
See. You're allowed to razz them a little bit then.
That's right.
A lot of it.
All right. Anything else, or else we're going to end on razzing Bob McAdams on his monthly cadences. Anyone else? How do you guys feel about quarterly, bi-monthly? Never.
I agree with quarterly. I think that's a good enough time for things to have changed. Like you said, it's a long sales cycle typically. So I think that's a good cadence.
All right. So we're gonna.
I would say it depends on how strategic that ISV is to your business. So I have some ISVs that I sell a lot of, and I wouldn't mind a monthly call because it'll remind them also if they get lead, because I get leads from some of my ISVs. If they're getting leads, they can pass the leads to us, and then then I should talk to them more often. But these are big projects. These are $100,000 implementations, so it's a big deal. But if it's small potatoes, then yeah, every 6 months is fine.
So I think know your audience, know who you're talking to, and we'll do with that. So
Tanya, we have 2 more questions in the chat, just in case you didn't see them. One
no.
is, what do you expect from an ISV product demo? What are the do's and don'ts from a VAR standpoint? We covered that a little bit, but maybe a bit more detail.
Get to the point. We know, we probably already introduced you as a company to the customer, And honestly, like show them the product and then backtrack and tell them a little bit about your organization. They just want to see if your product's going to do what it needs to do. Ask them in the beginning, what are you hoping to see? You know, probably you've already had that discussion if you're at the product demo stage that you've created the demo, but if not, if it's a generic demo, you know, I think that's okay to get to know them a bit by saying, ask, what do you expect to see? And then that way you can show them what they expect to see, and to see the product, or to see the outcome of the product, or to see happy people jumping around that they got the outcome that you can't show it.
One
Go
last.
ahead, guys.
I think
Sorry,
we'll
I didn't
have
mean
the-
to just take that.
No. We'll call this the last question, and then we'll wrap it up. But show me the money. How important are recurring margins for you, and billing on your paper versus ISV billing direct? So how does that play into your relationship, and does it tip the balance in one way or another? We talked about upfront costs, but what about the kickback on the other side?
So I really want to answer this because it's a pet peeve of mine. I think the ISV has to bill using the same cycle and billing philosophy as Microsoft. I think if we are being billed by Microsoft in a certain way with certain, if Microsoft bills monthly, the ISV should bill monthly. If Microsoft has an annual subscription discount, but they can still pay it monthly, then the ISV should do that. I do not like ISVs that come and we're subscription, but you have to pay a whole year in advance. It drives me crazy. That's not how Microsoft does it. The customer will argue and complain and ask, why is this different? And I don't want to have to deal with that. So that would be my pet peeve on that.
So do you want to say something, Kat? I feel like you haven't. And then
No, go ahead, Abra, go.
So we completely changed our strategy this year. We used to be that we wanted to handle all the billing, and hopefully we got enough to pay for that, for us to handle the billing. And more, we were getting less and less margin. And so it wasn't worth the paperwork. To be honest, it wasn't worth our processing. So we only bill for like 2 or 3 partners or vendors anymore. We have everyone else go direct, and we hope and expect that we're going to get some sort of kickback from that. But it is just wasted our time tremendously trying to bill. It just isn't worth it anymore. And it's like, you can even feel it in my voice. It's just not worth it anymore, because you're right, Robert, they're changing to monthly or quarterly or annually, and I can't keep up, and I don't want it anymore. And they want more seats. Great. I'll tell them what the price is. Maybe they can pay me for more licenses, but then you handle that annual enhancement and what it just isn't worth it anymore. So it's very different, and less it is based on what my margin is. It's how you're treating my customer, and if you're making my life harder or easier by providing a solution. So it's all about making my life easier. And if you could do that and give me some money along the way, great. And if you don't, I'm just not going to work with you.
But I think that that's a great way to end this, is that 15, 20 years ago, when I was starting off, it was all about, okay, that would be one of the upfront questions was, well, how much margin am I going to get? And now people are starting to realize that the cost of keeping that customer is more than whatever 10, 15, 20% that I'm getting from the back end of things. So that keeping the relationship and keeping the customers happy, I think, is the cornerstone behind all this. So without further ado, I wanted to thank the 3 of you for being on our chat today. Thank you everyone for having questions. I think you had a lot of meaningful things to say. Hopefully it's insightful. I'm sure we'll see lots of top 4 reasons why you should be buying my product now, and industry specific stuff going to you, Robert, and Kat, making sure that you have your marketing in a box ready to go. But thank you all. I hope that the ISVs out there had some great tips tips. Shameless plug, don't forget to sign up for next month. We're going to be talking all about analytics. So as marketers, it's super important for us to know how we can, what's our ROI on things, how do we read those Google Analytics and what it means. So yes, please sign up for that. If you have any jobs that you are looking to fill with awesome marketing people, we have a job board for those who aren't aware. Reach out to us on our website. If you have any questions, comments, we're always looking to improve how we do our monthly chats. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you again. Have a great month, everyone, and see you next month. All right, bye now.
Now I'm seeing faces I didn't see before. I tried to
Hi,
open all the
everybody.
faces so I could see everybody. And I'm like, oh, look, I didn't know she was on.